Dan, I'm so glad you're here to keep me on track, keeping me doing material I haven't done for 10 years.
We have people from all over the world, so to be very clear to everybody.
Oh, it's not you.
No. You turn over 3. Very clear. Because they're from all over the world.
It's a triple.
Yeah.
It's a double. It's a single. And then you pinch that guy right there, and then you do exactly what we talked about doing a moment ago, just to this point of the half pass, and then they coalesce together as you flip them over, and this comes off. So you're using the cover of those cards in the right hand to cover more of that glaring discrepancy. And the downside is, and this was the first thing Larry said, and he was like, that was awesome. But Larry wanted to make it really clear that the thing that he liked so much about it was that you could take them off one at a time. So it was just a completely different solution with completely different benefits and benefit analysis, cost-benefit analysis. It just, this one was suiting me, And that was a long, long time ago that I was doing that thing. Very long time ago. It was in a trick called the Omen at that time, which I am no longer doing the presentation for, so that one's out. Although, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, super neat, because I actually, that's my favorite diminishing lift sequence to go with, because it's perfect when you don't have a table to put things down. It makes sense to hold them in your hands.
And I would like to say one other thing about the diminishing lift sequence, and the reason I do like that one. It's a complete cardman thing. The diminishing lift sequence is the kind of thing you do when you don't want to cheat. You like wild card, but you don't want to cheat. If I can't do it with this deck, it's not going to get done. I don't want to do the real thing. I want to cheat. Well, problem is, no matter how much you don't want to cheat, the visual resonance of looking at those cards one at a time isn't as powerful as it would be if there were 4 of those cards actually sitting there. It's just never going to be as strong for the reasons we've been talking about for hours now, from an effect standpoint. So it's kind of like like some kind of a koan or even an exercise or something that we do in a classical education with card magic, is we work on these problems and we really learn how to think like magicians. But with that diminishing lift sequence, I think the only times I really use it are in the middle of something. It's kind of a bigger thing and it's a middle of something, because it's never going to have enough resonance to it to carry the whole a big thing. Right? Because I got to turn one down before I turn one up. And there's somewhere in the audience's mind, just like the steel and peel, where they're looking at it and they're going, wow, that looks really good. If I didn't, it's wonderful. Wow, it's fast. But they're not left like, exactly boggled. Right? And so I think it tends to go better if you kind of keep it moving, if you kind of do it. I like 3 card versions better than the 4, because anything that you can do to sort of mitigate its weak spots is good. And these are some really strong sequences. I just think it's the sequence itself that is limited in terms of its potential long term.
Oh my God! You have that super nice 3-card version for basically color Monte kind of work. That uses the Gambler's Cop. Now that I've revealed everything, can you show it to us?
No. I don't even do that method anymore.
Oh, you don't even do it anymore?
No.
Fair enough. I'll still do it. I love it.
Get up there.
I'm not doing it now. This is all you, man.
Yeah.
Somebody did ask about the Robert Houdin break.
I'm so glad they did, because I was pretty sure that if I actually went into more detail teaching it here at the time when I was doing it, I would have got stoned.
Seriously?
Yeah, well, it's a heavy thing. You can't, if I was going to sell you all a DVD, right, called Aaron's Thoughts on the Robert Houdin Break, I think we'd probably sell about 3 of those. Mastering the pentatonic scales with Aaron. That's not built to spill. That's not really, that doesn't have any action behind it. So one of the things that's really exciting when I start working, was there a specific thing about it except to break it down more?
Which fingers? Maybe to show it more clearly.
I love it. And I'm so glad you asked the question, because really, we're sort of easing out of the prepared material now.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. At the end of the day, we can even start talking here in a moment if you'd like. So I'd love to talk about this stuff, because I sort of feel like anyone who wanted to go to bed went to bed. If I was in my house pants at home right now, I'd be asleep. So
they're going to watch it, the rest of it.
later.
Later.
They're totally, I'm just saying, now the pressure's kind of off, you know. So the Robert Houdin break. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And I literally have been teaching a 4-part course that took 8 weeks, and I met with the students every other week for 4 weeks. And man, it's a real challenge to get this thing ushered through. It's a harder thing than it looks like. And it's really important. Start with the cards in this nice position here, this natural dealing position. So you know it's a good natural dealing position because the card's resting between the brackets of the first and second fingers, forward, like that. And you get that nice bevel going. And that bevel is important because you see it moves the top left edge of this card, it moves it away from the thumb, which means that you can cock the thumb back so the cuticle lands right there on the white border without doing very much to get there. And that's a really important thing because I have a lot of students trying to do it from here. It's much harder. Look at all that tension. But if I'm here, it's much easier. Okay? So now, my thumb has got to be bent a little bit because what I want to do is I want to push forward and up against that first finger. All the students have a hard time keeping that first finger in place at first, but it's really very important to this thing because when you pull it back, it's got to stay aligned to that first finger, and that's what makes the whole thing tight and beautiful. Like so. So what's going to happen is I'm here, I'm going to press down right there on the white border, and I'm going to push forward against the first finger. Now, what we want to avoid is getting those fingers in the way. So when you sling down here, I want you to really imagine those fingertips flayed outward, like this, like the flayed man. They're splayed outward. They're in this direction. All right? So they make nice, chill speed bumps, easy speed bumps. They can feel one card go over real easily. And as they go over, I want you to then lower those fingers away, the second and third fingers away, so they're not pressing up. Because if they press up, when you pull back, they're going to get in there, which is not the way you want to learn how to do this. Okay? So they go out, and I'm really holding the whole deck now between my thumb and my first finger, like that. Now, once I get in that position, my pinky clamps in on the whole deck and brings it back square against the thumb. My second and third fingers are still extended. My thumb pulls back here, and you can see, thanks to that pinky, which has been holding it the whole time, that's what it looks like. The pinky's resting right there. You can entirely see that gap here. And as those fingers come back, then they clamp down. And that's how you get the completed break. So in real life, when we're doing a, well, that would have been an easy way to do it, right? Hey, I'm going to show you something with this card here. And of course it's done. And what's happening at that point is you're repeating the second half. You're extending those fingers and pulling back just like you did with the first half. And then you're clamping down. Like so. And now you've got a double. And so that was Houdin's method. He would say, hey, watch carefully. Come over here. I'm going to show you something. Come over. And of course, I wouldn't have this all in frame, but I'm trying to show it all in one picture. But in real life, if we were backed up a little, so I could see all of me, I would say, here we are. And I'd say, hey, come on over here. I'm going to show you something. And then I would come back here. Right? Interestingly enough, there's an in-transit action here. If I were really a magician, I would just go, is that your card? You'd say no, and I'd go, great, put your hand on top of it. And that would be exactly how I'd like to do it. But since I can't actually do magic, I have to cheat. And so I have to bring the card back to the deck before I do that turnover in such a way that you won't have any idea or think that I did. And for that reason, we use the same kind of thinking we've been using all night long. It's one simple concept, but you apply it to everything. And what that is here. You're here, and I think, hey,